They need help. Much better.
The Mevo video appears to have connection issues midstream, so I'm not sure I'll get it without just needing to have somebody dedicated to.
With their own satellite.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's that kind of connection. This is just
different.
This connection. This controls that camera, and so when it loses, let's see what happens.
It just needs resetting. If it drops.
Right. But it also needs to be a little more quiet. So
For that microphone.
For this microphone. I mean, you would be able to do it. It's Bluetooth, this or that. But anyway, we can get into the details of the tech, see if we can extract ourselves from this to and fro. Delete something so I can record. There are a lot of competing streams of pending for my attention these days. So, the line item on the list of checking the tech didn't get.
It was lower down on the scale of priorities.
Everything gets clipped by your little being.
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations.
So our online folks present. Cool.
Hi. I just wanted to say that I can't really make out a lot of what's being said.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's my end but it's okay. I'm able to follow, I think.
So I've got the speaker close to me.
Okay.
We'll, hopefully that will do it.
Okay. Thank you.
It's also partly our general internet issues. So, how is the Tsukunashi portion of be able to make contact, keep things organized in your mind? There's a lot going on there.
It felt very accessible. Stop looking at that.
So, well, I'll wait till it's confirmed. I want to establish context for the discussion and the practice. sense of, we could talk about the details of the 5 elements and the yin and yang expression, 10 heavenly stems. But what does it mean to talk about those things? And what do they articulate? Where do they come from? I think it's useful to have the broadest perspective, in the sense that these are not, a purely invented system. It is a system that has been articulated in response to observation and these patterns are these long lists and fields of associations and correlations, where you can get lost into this is like that, and this is like that, and these things are all related. What does that mean? It means that they're participating in the same energetic pattern. That it's a useful category to organize our minds and allow us to perceive it more clearly. But it's all just variations on the most basic pattern between and dynamic between the unity of the whole and the separation of two polarities that we call yin and yang, and their interaction after that. We talk about before and after because it's useful and our lives appear to have that narrative construct, but it is in fact simultaneous and equivalent. Revisit that over time. When we all are fully able to integrate that concept, then
Ian, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I hear you even less this time. I don't. Well, since you moved it, I think it. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm glad you mentioned it. Is that true for others as well?
I haven't actually heard you throughout all of it. I don't know if you hear me at all, but I don't hear anybody.
We can hear you clearly. My speaker is saying that it's working, but
it's very low, like very distant and low. Even with now that's better.
Yeah.
Now that's much better.
Zoom, unfortunately, if it loses connection for a minute, the things you've chosen reset or something or other.
Oh, so it's picking up on.
So it was using computer audio with my accessory mic.
Okay. Big difference for me right now.
Great. Glad we got it sorted.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you.
So I don't want to get too far into the weeds of the meta because we want to get into the weeds of the micro, but
Stems and weeds.
Stems, weeds, roots above. But I will here for a minute. However, John, can I turn you into Team Master? I didn't count the number of cups. I have more here. So I just want to draw quickly one of the basic coming into being diagrams that most of you, or a handful of you, are familiar with, and we've done this before, but I revisit it often. But I also want to make a clear connection to the 5-element orientation and the things that we're talking about now. So we symbolize the, is that showing up? Not really. We symbolize the wholeness, ultimate reality, Tao, with a circle. And the circle is meant to symbolize that without boundary, without limit. And the kind of irony of that, or the double meaning of that, is not lost on the creators. So this is the Wu Ji, without limit, or the wholeness, ultimate reality. And the source of all of the distinct, distinguishable, apparently separate realities that we experience. And the first division that it's useful to think about is, John, can you move that a little closer to that microphone? Thank you. The first division is the arising of yang. And so rather than, you can do it all in one, you can illustrate it all in one circle, but I'll leave that there. You'll see that what is light and thin and rarefied and immaterial rises up, and what is dark sinks down. Or another way to say it would be, we identify and articulate what is bright in its simultaneity and equivalence to that which is above, and vice versa with the yin. And so most of you will be a little bit familiar with the I Ching, at least, and the way we articulate it. The I Ching patterns are an unbroken line, the yang line, and a broken line, the yin line. And so this is yang, this is yin. And within each of these patterns, there are further divisions. Every, as it says in the Qing Jing Jing, every particular instance of the Tao has clarity and also has stillness. Clarity is yang, stillness is yin. So every particular instance can also be further divided into a yin and yang aspect. And so we take the bottom as the initial, as the inaugural, the beginning. And so as we add distinctions to these lines, we keep the yang, the first line that arises, on the bottom. And so again, we have within this yang line, we have two yang, or yang yin. And within this yin, there are two distinctions that it's possible to make. Oops. So that we have two yin, two yang, yin with yang, yin with yang. And so these are the Suxiang, the four images, and we use them to articulate, we call this center, and also has its yin and yang aspects, not one of these. But then you can see with yang above, yin below, yin becoming yang, and yang becoming yin. Here, this is one of the ways to illustrate the 5 elements in the 5 directions, with south, fire above, north, water below, wood in the east, and metal in the west. So wood, fire, metal, water, and earth in the center. And so and of course you see there's a yin and yang aspect of, or you see how there would be a yin and yang aspect of each of those elements. We'll circle around these concepts frequently, but that is their relationship to the fundamental yin-yang pattern and to the fundamental unified pattern or absence of pattern. Any questions or comments on that articulation? Okay, so
Is just one? Is the east and the west is always reversed in Chinese, like a little bit of a different ancient orientation, polar shift or something?
Well, it isn't a polar shift so much as it is considering south as front. And so south, sun, fire is our facing. It's associated with face and forward and radiance. And so that's a forward orientation. And like the sun, it is high and rising. And so that's the it's an important fundamental shift of perspective to gradually adapt to in studying this kind of information, because it makes everything kind of fit together.
So an important orientation in far as referencing texts. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And any way or any sort of spatial orientation understanding begins with south as facing.
So that would make it the left and the right, just because of the way the west or the east is facing. Got
Exactly.
it. Thank
Exactly.
you. Wonderful. Didn't know that. Thank you.
So this is in the body where, north kidney's water is low and behind, and heart is high and facing.
Okay. Thank you.
So 10 heavenly stems, 5 elements, yin and yang. So those stems are Jia Yi Bing Ding Wu Ji Gung Xin Run Gui. And we may take the opportunity to just or we'll see how it feels, but maybe we say those together a few times, because there's a memorization element here that you can relax and take your time with, but it's in the end essential for integrating the concepts. And so when I learned them with a small group with Master Wu in Sweden, using the context of the Batsa, the 8-character astrology system, and we were told to show up knowing everything, and then we'd put it to practice. And so everything just had to be memorized. So I would just, kind of go through the day, Jia Yi Bing Ding Wu Ji Run, Gong Xin Run Gui. That kind of approach is helpful. It not only familiarizes yourself with the name, which is different than if the name has a real meaning. It's not just saying yang wood or yin wood. Like the way I encourage you guys to relate to a color in a practice, like in the 5-element part of the shaking or in the Tugu Nashin, the color carries all of this whole category of associations and meanings. And so that's also true of the character Jia, which you may have started to explore if you have the book and reading it. Sure, thank you. And in any case, for full or best integration of the concepts over time, you'll need to not just know yang wood, but you'll need to know Jia. Jia Yi. It's associated with wood and east. We say the 5 elements. We mean these 5 massive fields of correlations and correspondences. And so a few of the fundamental ones we use to represent the totality of them are, for example, wood, mu, the Chinese, dong, east, or Jinglong, the green dragon. Green dragon is a spiritual animal. Again, it's a container for all of these meanings, that as we fill out our understandings, we can use a single one of these meanings to cue our bodies and minds to bring up or integrate with the whole field.
Ian, is there a page in the book that you think is like the best? I don't really like the square ones. I like the circle ones. Is there like a best page to kind of look at that you would recommend even right now?
Well, we are going to talk about the detail of Jia and Yi. So Jia begins on page 47.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The document I shared on the Telegram.
Oh.
Also
Sorry.
is condenses all of this information. into
Okay.
a couple of pages of charts. So I'm forgetting at the moment whether there's a particular page with a particular chart to look at here. So how are we doing with the general, with our wade into the ocean here? Are people still got their feet on the ground? Or doing okay?
Okay.
Okay. So so to take in the new and release the old, the Tugu Nashin is a fundamental or a foundational alchemical practice to first purify and then in Chinese medicine they say tonify, but build the healthy natural energy of on the one hand the organ system in your body, on the other hand the relationship of your entire being to that entire set of energies or qualities of energy. And so we do it by setting our intention at conjuring up, calling up, and integrating these energies within to the best of our ability at our current level of understanding. But the feeling with, in my experience, and I think in others, relatively quickly when you're not trying to remember this or that about the form, during practice, you're kind of just resting in that quality as you synchronize with it and build a relationship to it. Later in the course, we'll integrate specific Chinese mantras to that. It's like pressing cosmic buttons to light up particular. These sounds have been used in this way and have built a relationship with the cosmos, and also for 5,000 years or more, and also are derived from that energy as well, specifically. So, so when we say on the inhale, we won't try to learn this right away, but when we say on the inhale, Dongfeng Jia Yi Mu Qing Si Ru Gan Dan, which means the things I said in English to you. It means eastern direction, Jia Yi, yang and yin, mu, wood, Qing Si, this is the blue-green azure color, which also holds all these associations, including dragon. Ru is bring into. Gan, Dan is gallbladder and liver. So each of these things have this literal meaning, but also they're a container for larger sets of meanings. But the sounds, once you no longer have to think to yourself, okay, facing east, green, spring, go through the cognitive aspects, then this will help emphasize it, bring it to a higher amplitude energetically, in my experience. And then the second is basically a naming of the spirit. The second inhale mantra on the chart here. This is from the oldest alchemical text, the Yellow Court scripture. And the picture that that scripture gives is one of an entirely animated by spirit body. And so these are the spirits that are associated with, that rule the organs. I'd like to see that image. So, go ahead.
I was just wondering, so so there are within each element, so there are 8 and 22, no, I'm sorry, 10 and 12, right? Right now what you identified, I was just wondering, is that like the 3 elements in each of that helps me the way I file it away. So
yeah,
you just mentioned 3, like a body. I'm sorry, go ahead. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
yeah, it may take another refinement of the question here in a sec, but let me say,
okay.
So, so what we're talking about today and focusing on in this course are the 10.
Okay.
The 12 will do, the 12 earthly branches will do in the fall with the same kind of.
Okay.
But we'll focus on the 10. And so the 10 are the heavenly stems. These are distinctions within, the largest division of yin and yang. In a sense, these 10 stems are all within the yang. They're all, it's an articulation of a pattern and a cycle of patterns.
Right.
Within the yang category. So, and because each particular instance of the Tao has both yin and yang, within, so yeah, well, I would be restating this. So, so this is a picture of of existence, but we're going to talk about it as if we are just talking about the yang.
Yes, I did understand that. I think that I was just hung up on something last you said, so that might have been just my own issue with thinking there were 3 particular things that was in each of the 10. Does that make sense? So that might have just been something I misunderstood.
Actually sure what I said 3 about, but if I did, then maybe it'll come back around.
Okay, sorry for the confusion.
No, it's good.
Could you touch at some point, and you might come to this, but touch on the relationship of, the yin yang within, gallbladder, liver relationship, heart, small intestine.
So yeah, that's a good question. So yin organs store and yang organs move. That's the basic structure.
And I wonder about, when you mention picturing colors in various forms we've done, you'll mention heart over small intestine or liver over gallbladder.
Right. So we focus on the storage organs, the yin organs. And you can focus on both if it's not a challenge for your
Okay.
inner harmony. And so as you know, you may have noticed already in the intermantra version of the inhale, both organs are there.
Yeah.
Yeah. As are both the yin and yang aspects of the elemental energy. So before we get into the more details on the Jia and Yi, you know, in the form we begin with the triple burner, and it's a kind of it's also, there's a confusing overlap wherein it's associated also with the gallbladder. The gallbladder is the ruler. Its energy, control and decisiveness and moving, but also it's the general. And the triple burner is related medicinally to the gallbladder channel, but also in spirit to the ruler aspect. So if we have time toward the end of the course, we may take a look at the Neijing 2 diagram that, again, if folks haven't, is available for download by signing up for the email list. So the orientation on the triple burner is one of circulation and irrigation. And so as a very basic structure to this pattern, beginning with the triple burner is cycling and irrigating and like I think I said in class, in practice, walking the trail to make the trail a trail. And so that's related to the full cycle of rising water up the spine and culminating and falling down the front.
You said central channel. Can you say
Yeah. So triple burner is a specific, like, has a medical meaning, and in spiritual practice, that's also accurate, but it means center, central channel, total system, these things as well.
And everything organ-wise in here is consistent with classical Chinese medicine, or there are some differences.
Yeah.
We don't. I've just crossed my mind.
Yeah. So I hadn't tried to parse that. I think, and we have some Chinese medicine practitioners, Padma and Stephen could help us with this, but I think the only divergence is the association with the fingers. That's a spiritual practice. So for example, ring finger being associated with wood and liver. It doesn't have a channel. It doesn't fit with the channel understanding. And I'm not clear enough on the medical part to know whether they pay attention to that or not.
I'm so sorry, just the triple burner,
Yeah.
which organ does it start with first? Is there a first organ that it starts with? The triple burner?
So the triple burner is considered an organ.
So it's one organ? I'm sorry, I don't know that. I thought it was
no,
three.
No, you're not meant to know it. Yeah, the triple burner operates as an organ system.
Okay.
like the liver organ system,
Okay.
looks to me like there's an error on this chart. So this will be reprinting it. But it is in a way the lower part of the pelvis, the middle part of the diaphragm, and the cavity of the chest and heart. So it's like 3 sections that work together. The top is in charge of mist, the middle in charge of foam, and the lower in charge of liquid, which has a sort of literal association that you can observe as well.
That we've gotten to when talking about this.
That fit into the diagram conversation as well.
And you always start from the bottom? Is that the whole thing? And you bring it up? Is that the cycle, what you were talking about, cycling, the irrigating?
So it would be, yep. I don't recommend engaging with that. I think it would.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, it just happens. So I would just keep the focus central in the center of the torso, center of the body, knowing that it has these aspects, and take in golden light.
Okay.
And the heat will rise and the rain will fall.
Yeah, the poetry can be. You can fight it a bit. It's very intriguing, but it also
right.
get lost in it.
Yeah, totally.
Which is maybe a good thing. I think I came out of it was enriching. Work to it.
Well,
and then let it go again.
Yeah, I mean, just as poetry itself and making sense of these.
And thank you for clarifying. That was part of why I brought that up. I was a little confused.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't remember what I had been looking at when I asked them.
Yeah.
That reminded me. That's what it was.
That's an error. The error here is that I've got heart as yang on at least one side of this chart. On both sides. So let's focus, or let's get into a little bit. Not sure how everybody's time is here, but let's look at more at the detail of Jia and Yi. So the major containers of meaning are wood, east, green dragon. Jia is the yang. Yi is the yin. We're not going to worry about the trigrams at the moment, but they're there for future reference. The season, and in my own practice, I use the season as the kind of primary informer, trigger for feeling that I'm ingesting. And so early spring and mid-spring, the articulations of the seasons don't have a late, it's early and mid. And by mid, it really means like the fullness of the season. So the yang is initial, the thunder, the breaking through, the new buds and sprouts. Early spring. And the yin is the growth and the
new life energy that fills out that initial push. And so a lot of these lists in the next couple of columns here are from Master Wu's book. Some are from my own experience or from other sources. Primarily the information on all of this comes from Master Wu. So with Jia Wood, your initial image reference can be a pine tree, or even a redwood or something like that. This sort of extreme strength, straightness, reaching to heaven, stability and growth. And so straightness and strength are part of what's essential to this category. Rising, new life energy, also great transformation. And so the kind of thunder breaking through, the plant breaking through the earth out of the seed. These are initiations that generate great change. Also that shaking energy, like we feel so viscerally in the shaking practice, the shake off the old, included in the initial yang energy of spring. So some of the ways that this, that we know these qualities in our emotional life or behavioral life are taking initiative, being creative, authoritative, the kind of strength, height, tallness also has this way of controlling what's around, but also the strength of the rootedness that supports something that grows so tall. The root wood is considered to control earth in this very clear, literal way, right? The roots hold the earth. And so one expression of that is this authority. So ambition, there's this reaching for the heights way that these qualities manifest in us. So the yang wood organ is gallbladder. On the body, it has specific associations as well, like head, scapula, thyroid, nerves, ankle, nails. I don't practice medicine, so it's these are sort of enjoyable details. I don't worry. If I hurt my ankle, I sort of reflect on whether these other aspects of gallbladder energy are excessive. And that's an enjoyable way to sort of make sense of patterns in our lives. But I don't get, I don't worry too much about, it can be a signal. It can be, spraining your ankle or perpetually spraining your ankle, a chronic ankle thing will most definitely be mirrored in the condition of your gallbladder.
I get gallbladder attacks in spring too.
Oh, well.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even in the fall, but that's really fascinating. Thank you.
Yeah, for different reasons. In the fall, the metal controls wood. So in the fall, it's challenged by the dominant energy. And in the spring, that energy can be excessive. And I would wager that your experience of those two instances is different. So any questions or riffs on other, does it trigger in you an idea of other things that may be associated or help you think about something like Slava that is already part of your life?
Yes, everything you said makes sense. I definitely feel all of those things that you're saying, and it's I even feel them earlier. Kind of like makes sense when you talk about that thunder, because the initial gallbladder attack I had was earlier, which was like I think around that thunder time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the thunder dance and made the gallbladder go away. But yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
So
correlates.
These things will be, the timing of things will be more clear with the earthly branches, or more familiar because they are the seasons. And so the spring energy has a precise beginning date and end date articulated by the branches. This same associations or overlapping associations, but we say early spring, but if we were looking at the branches, we would say, February 4th, the spring energy.
Is there a time when this practice is traditionally done during the year? Or is it year round? Or
it's year round. It's a fundamental practice that in many cases will be the only practice somebody does. So we can use it as a healing mode, or an exploration mode, a learning mode, or it can be the whole thing. It is traditionally done at between 3 and 5, or 5 and 7 in the morning.
Okay, great.
In association with this strong initial rising energy.
Right, you don't want to set for bed. It seems.
So you definitely can. It's just that it supports the transformation and healing aspect. Okay. I don't think it will. Maybe the first week you do it or something, it may cause you to have trouble falling asleep or something, but generally it's not. Can definitely assist in settling and separating from the day. And one of the main reasons for restless sleep is a liver. So,
good point. Right. So you're working on your organs.
Yeah, and you're bringing the spirit of the liver home. That can definitely benefit sleep. So yi, mu, we sometimes say it. Mu being wood. Mid or fullness of spring, and some of the qualities of the element are supple, twisting, and so now we start to think of grasses and vines. bunching strength. It's like the delicate grass is strong because there are many blades close together. And that's true of a bamboo forest as well. And you can see that in opposition to the image of the massive pine tree. And so it's that gentle sprout or grass winding energy that has the strength to break through concrete, right? And so that is the yin wood strength. And so some of the human ways you see here are gentle and kind, vital, full of life, naturally flexible both in mind and body. Social, this strength in being together is a quality that somebody with this energy will exhibit. So in each of these categories, I skipped over, the ones in italics are negative expressions in cases of imbalance. And so in this case, there's a tendency for depression or stiffness in opposition to the balance. You know, that a healthy yi would be flexible and alive, but this sinking energy and stiffness. A tendency, or like a temper, or a tendency to be enraged or to become jealous. Liver is the organ, and the body, neck, which we sometimes address in practice. I mean, I sometimes mention the association. The immune system, the tendons, ligaments, wrist, and finger, all fingers of the category. So we'll see how this course goes over time, but the tones I have listed there, like gong, earth, is the note C, and shang, metal, is the note D. These are transformations that energetic patterns with the heavenly stem correlated here on the chart will transform into given the right conditions. And they tend to be the most accurate articulation of the shape of a climactic pattern of a year, for example. And there's quite a lot of detail, and it can be a little confusing to get into that, but knowing it exists is interesting. A start.
Can that be reflected in the exhale? Or not really?
Well, I don't think so.
Yeah, because it's
you know,
two notes.
I don't really know. I haven't tried that. I wouldn't try to hit those notes.
Right. At the same time, that'd be hard.
You know, you may be, you know, if that kind of thing resonates with you, and you can just explore the feeling of that note and let it inform the feeling of that energy.
The vibration. Yeah.
Is there a similar, like you had the thunder, catching the thunder, which is like early spring, that transition? Is there, not that we have to know everything now, but I'm just curious, so is there this similar kind of ritual with this peaking of this kind of time that,
No, the thunder
or is it just,
catching
is it different?
is very specific and particular. But
Okay.
but in a way, this practice is that for the rest of these energies.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of beyond our time here. I'm happy to, continue to converse a little bit. I know people have places to get to and whatnot. But let's try and wrap up any dangling threads in each of you about wood in particular, or about the practice, if you're going to try to do that from memory. I'm confident John's audio will have worked. The other two sources I'm not confident in. You have 3 sources. Exactly.
Is there a way that you would like us to approach it? Starting out?
Well, the pattern of this class is set each day is set on the way I recommend approaching it, which is viscerally through practice, focusing on feelings and non-cognitive orientation of your intention. Non-cognitive just meaning, apart from the obvious, it just means don't get entangled in all the details of the possibilities here. And then separately study, and then that will inform your next practice. Of course, while you're studying, doing a couple of repetitions, and you can integrate those too, but I wouldn't do that instead of an isolated practice. Okay.
And the trajectory of the course is going to be one per day.
For the first 5, right? And then we'll start introducing some of the more challenging aspects of the mantras and stuff like that. So for those of you who haven't seen on Telegram, this PDF is there. We now know I need to fix at least one thing. Hopefully, please tell me if you encounter other things. But the one side should be a reasonably, given the even just the single practice today. I hope that there are enough cues here that you can piece back together practice in the meantime. The breath hold, the more you can hold your breath without strain or stress, the stronger the practice will be. And I recommend leaving the Chinese mantras, inhale mantras, for after we address them together. So basic pattern being orient to the direction, take in all of the feeling of that season and direction, hold the breath. When you're done holding, with the mudra, and when you're done holding, release, and then return. As a side note, don't worry too much about it, but if you can hold the exhale, and if possible for there to be no additional breaths, you, so for example, inhale, hold, exhale, inhale, hold, exhale. So work toward that continuity in practice, and you'll find a dramatic improvement in the energetic effectiveness of the form.
And by orient, again, just you meant.
You can
in
do it
your
literally.
mind,
You can do it literally.
if you want.
I don't like to get up and move.
Yeah, that seems
You know.
distracting. And you just face your altar.
Face the altar. If you don't have an altar, you can face the east.
This is another topic. You recommend the altar always east, ideally?
Well, it depends on the feng shui of the space.
Yeah.
If your space is feng shui to be south facing, if the altar can face south, that's good. But there are a lot of possibilities. So anything else I can say or answer to help
You
help you
connecting
practice in the meantime?
are you connecting here? Is the focus,
Uh,
or is it just the whole central channel? You had
Focus.
mentioned a connection.
Yeah, focus on the organ and the light being pervasive of the particular qualities. In my experience, this connection is very strong and self-sustaining. Yeah.
Mhm.
But probably just
Mhm.
sort of stuff going on.
So you find your space intuitively.
Yeah, you know, if you end up here, then you're not here.
Right.
At a certain point in practice, and maybe this is accessible to you, you can be there and not everywhere else. So that's okay too. She, her, who, se, chui, or chui.
You say that one more time?
She, shu, her, who, se,
So,
and chui.
chui. So,
And you can try it out loud and get.
She, shu.
And these you may have encountered in YouTube Qigong world, the 6 healing sounds. These are those. But I can't vouch for anything that comes with that.
like YouTube world.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ian.
So let's wrap for today. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
this is the first time I've done this course, so please, all along the way, any feedback, neither I nor the Tao take any offense. So just say what you think. I'll integrate your experience. So
Thank you guys over there.
Thank you.
and I'll do my best to get the whatever we got for video and certainly the audio accessible. I'm thinking the Telegram place for the app and group for this group will be the best way to manage the videos and other documents as well, as opposed to the tangle of Dropbox and permissions and links.
Telegram's nice. It's very
Yeah,
intuitive
seems good,
right away.
right?
It's
Yeah.
seems like everyone gets it.
Great.
So we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye.
Who's up at the top there? You can just see.
Yeah, I wondered that too.
That's one of my oldest friends.
Oh, really?
It
Yeah,
did work
John.